So today is a video that I have been making or meaning to make. First off, I want to say that I have not had a whole lot of time to film these videos, though hopefully if you follow me on Instagram, you have been able to attend the sound healings that I've been doing. Or if you're on my Patreon, I post those like half a week to a week after for you to view whenever. So I have another one coming because I did one last week. I may do one tomorrow. And I'm really, really happy and grateful that I have my full sound healing set complete, the collection. So it's crystal bowl, tuning forks, Tibetan bowls, gong, chimes, bells, whatever I'm going to be using that day, and then doing meditations and visualizations. So that's obviously like what I've been doing mostly. But for today, a traditional video. And I want to show you something. As you may have seen, this video is about me saying that I don't use toothbrushes anymore. Now, first off, let me just state, for those who don't know, I'm autistic, and one of the things that can go along with having autism or being autistic is sensory differences from a person who does not have autism. And one of the sensory differences that a lot of autistic people experience is finding the experience of toothbrushing to be very like aggressive and disruptive and just really unpleasant. It's like way too much to tolerate. So there are some people for whom this sensory difference is so extreme that it's actually difficult to find ways to maintain proper dental hygiene. And so one of the things that I know was really common was we were saying like, hey, by the way, you don't have to use mint toothpaste if you don't want to. I'm one of those people. I know a lot of other autistic people feel this way, and people who are not autistic. I actually hate mint toothpaste. I hate it. I can tolerate it more. I can just kind of get over it, but I would never buy it if I didn't have to. I hate that. Well, I don't want to keep using that word because this is kind of lightly going into it, but I detest that, there are other flavors of toothpaste out there, but a lot of times if you go to the store, there's like 20 different quote unquote flavors, but they're like mint something. They'll be like cool mint, refreshing mint, fruity mint, winter fresh. Like they're all mint. And I get it because that cool, refreshing feeling makes your mouth feel very clean, but there are other ways to that. And for some of us, the mint is just awful. And it's funny because I don't dislike mints. And I eat mint and I drink mint tea, but mint and toothpaste is too much. So over the years, I always knew that I had a few different preferences with brushing my teeth, but mostly I just focused on having different toothpaste. So I would find like licorice toothpaste or neem toothpaste or cinnamon toothpaste, something like that, and that was a lot better. I also found that I would change my toothbrush just whenever I felt the vibes were off, which apparently is way more frequently than they suggest, which is weird and gross. I think you should change your toothbrush more than they say. I think they say something crazy like, I don't know, it's like 3 months or 6 months, something crazy like that, and I could never go that long. So another thing that I noticed as I was just trying to listen to my feelings about brushing my teeth was that, as I was exploring different types of toothbrush, now one of the main problems too is that I find it fairly painful to be wasteful, and there are a lot of problems with toothbrushes. And one of the problems with toothbrushes is that most toothbrushes are not, they're made out of plastic, right? So they're not biodegradable. Now, sometimes you can find a toothbrush that's biodegradable, but the bristles aren't biodegradable. They're still plastic. And technically, if you want to recycle or biodegrade them the way they say that you can, if it's recyclable or biodegradable, you actually have to pull the bristles out unless it's like a complete plastic toothbrush and they're just saying recycle it, which most of the plastics that are produced don't actually get recycled, so that doesn't solve the problem. The other thing is that I found that sometimes one of the sensory issues is that the toothbrush bristles are just bad. And I found that sometimes you can find bristles or toothbrushes with tapered bristles. They're called like flossing bristles or something like that usually. And if you get a soft toothbrush with those bristles, brushing your teeth feels amazing. It feels so good. It's not abrasive. It doesn't feel rough and awful in that sensory way. But again, what I found was that that's kind of like a fancy sort of toothbrush technology thing. So the toothbrushes that had those bristles were not biodegradable. They were not made out of natural materials. So I was stuck having to get these bulky plastic brushes or toothbrushes with the good bristles, or going, okay, well, I want a recyclable one or something, and then it would have bad bristles. And it just hard. If you are autistic, you understand that feeling, or if you have sensory issues, that feeling of like, I need to brush my teeth, but I'm kind of dreading it because I just hate the way it feels. Yeah, so I eventually, I never wanted to get those like wooden toothbrushes because they are so not ergonomic. They're just like this big chunky piece of wood with bristles in it. Like, I get that. Could you try? Like, they're not curved or anything. It makes it really awkward to try to reach your back teeth, and they feel really bad in your mouth. Like the the stick itself, like when it touches your cheek, you know what I'm talking about? So unpleasant. Dry, like, so my last, oh, so my last toothbrush was the Humble Company's toothbrush. I don't have it in here because I put it out in the compost, but if you've never seen them, they're basically a very basic wooden toothbrush. And there's that toothbrush, and it comes with some mint toothpaste that I didn't want to waste, so I did use it, whatever. It's not the worst thing. Because the other thing that sucks about trying to find an eco-friendly way to brush your teeth is that toothpaste tubes are not recyclable. Sometimes, very rarely, you'll see that they say that they're made it out of like a decent kind of plastic. But the thing is, because of the way that they have to be lined, it is just like a very unrecyclable piece of material. So for a long time, I've moved towards like powders, but that can be hard to find. Way back in the day, it's not really way back in the day, it was a few years ago, but Lush, which is a company that I no longer support for reasons, used to make these really great toothy tabs. They were toothpaste tablets, and what I really loved about them was that they came in awesome non-traditional flavors. So there was one that was like rose, and then there was another one that was like chai, and there was one that was green tea. It was awesome. I was like, this is perfect. And out of frustration, when I was trying to figure out my toothbrush and toothpaste situation recently, even though I don't really like Lush anymore, I went back to their site to see if I could find those toothy tabs, and they don't even make them anymore. All they have is mint and charcoal left. So again, the dominance of mint. And charcoal as a toothbrush flavor, I'm not against it, but I don't want black toothpaste or tooth powder because it's going to discolor your brush really soon, and that's just unpleasant looking. So anyway, I had picked this up, and I really like the little tube that it's in, this little like bamboo tube, because I travel and it's nice to be able to just stick your toothbrush in something and just like have it. But I hated the toothbrush itself. It was really unpleasant. The bristles were flat and thick, and so like brushing just felt like it's like, when you have a grill brush and you're like cleaning the grill, it just feels like that. So here's my solution. I've looked into this a few times, but basically, if you are not aware, here's a little fun fact. Before toothbrushes were invented, there were a few different things that people used to clean their teeth. One of the most common worldwide things used to clean teeth were sticks. And these sticks were not just any stick. It would be like the stick of a certain tree. If you ever heard of neem, the stick of the neem tree was very popular in regions where it grows. There's another one. There's one tree called like the toothbrush tree, basically. like Pilu is another one, and they make a toothpaste actually out of this. I mean, you've seen neem toothpaste maybe. They make toothpaste out of Pilu as well. There's two other plants. I know that one of them I'm forgetting, but the fourth one is often called Jamaican toothbrush, and that's what I have here. So these are chew sticks, and you can find these made out of different relevant trees, different herbs. I actually was curious about getting neem. I like neem, but I found that the places that were shipping the neem in, you'd have to get it from overseas, and they also weren't shipping it dry. So there was a problem where by the time that it got to the US or Canada or wherever it was going, the reviews were saying they were arriving moldy because, again, they weren't pre-dried, and then they were shipping for a week or two overseas. I didn't want to risk that. The other issue that I ran into when I was trying to find these is that a lot of them did seem super legit. Like there were neem, there was whatever that other one was. I think it was like Pilu. I can't remember the third, but they it's a very common product in other countries. Like I was finding them coming out of South Asia, but as a very common product, they were selling them where like if you bought 10 of them, they were all individually wrapped. I totally understand why. Again, given that the mold thing can happen, especially if they're not adequately dried, having them be individually wrapped would make sure that the contamination stayed at a minimum, and it also probably makes it easier for people to buy them because it sounds like it's a very common item. You can probably run into any corner store and find them and you just grab one. I didn't want that because I'm buying them in bulk and I don't like individually wrapped things. One of my no buys as a consumer is things that are individually wrapped because it's extra wasteful. So for instance, if I go to a store, and unfortunately this is really common with like Asian snacks and stuff, which I eat a lot of Asian food. But if you go and, a bag of some kind of cracker, cool, but then the bag is full of tiny bags because each of the crackers is individually wrapped. I just won't buy it. It's a snack and I don't need it. But so this is a seller from Etsy that I found that's actually fairly local. This is a very common herb, again, in Jamaica. And this is, you just call them chew sticks or Jamaican toothbrush. And so as you hear, I'm chewing gum too. I love to keep my teeth clean and I don't like the feeling of anything on my teeth. So I chew gum a lot. It says here that these are wild crafted. They're 100% organic and purely natural. Chew sticks can be used for oral hygiene, anti-plaque agent. They reduce smoking as an oral habit, and natural toothbrush, antiseptic properties. They keep your teeth and gums healthy and more. And the company that sold this is called Sunshine New Life at sunshinenewlife.com, Nulife. I found them on Etsy, but they have a website. And it says there are inherent medical benefits in chewing sticks. They are full of medically helpful properties. Some of the astringent, fluoride, and enzyme inhibitors can be effective as a toothbrush. It's a weirdly constructed sentence, but I'm not going to focus on that too much. So, again, before we were using these manufactured toothbrushes to clean our teeth, people were using sticks. And you just chew on the stick and the stick frays and it becomes a bristle. And then you can use that bristle to clean your teeth. You can chew. It helps your jaw. Another thing that I know that I've heard people talk about with contemporary dental conditions is that given that so many people have such a soft food diet, a lot of people have like worse teeth and worse jaw strength than people who are living on an indigenous diet that hasn't been interrupted. Yeah, that's because, they don't have to chew stuff as much. Everything's really processed. And there are a lot of situations where people like had healthier teeth before having a colonized diet or post-industrial diet, fewer sugars and things like that go into it, different aspects of the diet. But anyway, so I don't use toothbrushes anymore. I use these now. I actually like these way, way more than I even expected to. And I'm going to talk about why. So it is literally just this stick and you chew it And pretty soon after you're chewing it, you bite it and it starts to fray, the end starts to fray, and you taste the tannins and the herbal flavor. It's pretty bitter. I enjoy bitter as a flavor. If you're not used to bitter as a flavor, my recommendation is always to get used to it, because some of the most healthy things for you are bitter. It's one of the flavors that actually should be part of a healthy diet. We don't tend to focus on it that much in the US because it's not a fun flavor, and it definitely is one that people have to get used to, because when you're a kid, bitter is very unpleasant, but bitter is a very helpful flavor. It's good for your liver, things like that. A lot of bitter foods are good for your blood sugar. They're very medicinal, things like that. So anyway, it's bitter. And the bitter makes you salivate too, which is good. It stimulates the salivation. The salivation helps to kill germs and keep plaque from forming. I found that it was like way, way more efficient at cleaning my teeth, the gum line and everything like that than I expected. Like, I knew it would be okay. I knew that people keep their teeth clean with this, but I did not know it would be so awesome. And I felt like it also kept my teeth cleaner. Like, if I brush my teeth at night, do my mouthwash, which that's a whole other thing. I have a silver mouthwash, like it's got silver particles and baking soda, so I prefer that kind of flavor to mint. But anyway, I felt like when I woke up in the next morning, my teeth were even cleaner than they usually are, and they're always fairly clean. My mouth doesn't have any like smell because, again, cleaning your mouth at night and then mouthwash, it really keeps a lot of that from happening. And a lot of times oral smell, like bad breath, can have a lot more to do with your digestion than your actual teeth. Like, if you have a tooth infection or something like that, then yeah, it's going to probably be coming from there. If you have a lot of plaque built up, it can be coming from there. But a lot of times with people who are just like, oh, a little embarrassed, but like my breath smells bad, sometimes it's actually coming from your stomach. And I don't have that problem because I eat a lot of fermented foods. So anyway, yeah, it works really, really, really well. And I plan to just after the first day and a half of using it, what I did was cut the frayed part off and then start with more. So start fresh, basically. So you're just going to work your way down the stick, which, unlike a toothbrush, you're just using the one head the whole time, and then you have to get rid of it and get another one. This one, the entire stick is going to be something that you find useful. I also thought it was really useful because you can use it hold it like a pencil and then just get into different teeth in the back of your mouth. Like, it was so easy. And because the fibers fray like they do brush plaque off of your teeth. They do massage your gums like a toothbrush wants to, You can do that kind of flossing action where the fibers, go up and down between your teeth. You can get all of that. But it was way, way easier to clean certain parts of my mouth with it without having the whole toothbrush in there. And none of it was abrasive. It was all very smooth and very pleasant, very natural. I think that just something is so unpleasant about having plastic in my mouth. The plastic bristles, because again, if you're autistic, you know that there's certain materials that you can touch and they're so awful and gross. And a lot of times it's artificial materials too, right? Like, that are scratchy or weird or whatever. So yeah, I think that that's kind of what it is. And this has been my solution. So if anybody else has ever been really frustrated or, wanted to think more about hey, I actually do find something, I dread brushing my teeth for some reason, I have a sensory problem, whatever it could be. I encourage you to look into it because you do have options. Now I found that the sticks, because of all their herbal constituents that are in the herb itself, you actually might not need to use toothpaste. And I remember actually hearing a couple of dentists talking about the fact that the toothpaste is really just, as an industry, it's kind of oversold. They oversell it in the sense that all the toothpaste is, at the end of the day, is an abrasive paste that you rub on your teeth. And in some senses, people are over polishing their teeth which helps stains stick to the teeth because they're wearing away the enamel. And so it's like you either use the paste or you use the brush. You don't actually need to use both. Now, I would never use a toothbrush without the paste because then it just seems like the stuff in your mouth would get stuck in the brush and it would be really gross. This might not be the most relaxing talk I've ever done. But yeah, I understood what they were saying, basically. We got very used to using both. Now, like I said, did find that the stick itself was so good at cleaning my teeth. And again, it works up kind of its own lather as you're doing it that you wouldn't necessarily need toothpaste. But I also stopped using toothpaste and I use a tooth powder. This is the powder that I have. I don't know if you could see it. Okay. It's not going to focus, but that's okay. You can imagine that it's a powder and it looks like a very, 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 very fine sand. This is just a basic toothbrush or toothpaste powder that I made out of, like baking soda and calcium and a few herbs to just help remineralize my teeth. I have used it with the stick. It's great. So I think that that's a better option for like if you choose to use the stick and you don't want to just not use the toothpaste, use a tooth powder. And I think that would also help. Yeah, it just seems like it goes really well together. So that's the conversation for today. I don't use a toothbrush anymore. I just don't. And I feel a lot better. I feel, I look forward to brushing my teeth more. And so it's easier to do it, after every meal, whereas before I was really just doing it like after breakfast and dinner and then flossing in the middle of the day. And chewing gum. I chew gum after every meal or at least after lunch. If I'm going to brush my teeth after dinner, I'm not going to do it. Yeah, so that's it. I don't use a toothbrush. I want to say that I have never really loved using a toothbrush and that using most toothbrushes feels awful. Most toothpaste is disgusting. And there are other options that work just as well, if not better. I kind of curious to see like what long-term studies are about like the different constituents in the herbs and how they help gum health and things like that. I would definitely put money on them deterring plaque and supporting circulation and stuff like that in your gums. It's awesome. I could also think of dentists probably saying, oh, it's not a good idea because so many of them are associated with the ADA. They get like partnerships and kickbacks with, Crest and all these like electronic toothbrush companies. And before I go, I will say one thing. I've had extensive dental work done because when I was very young, my parents never took me to the dentist enough. Anyway, and I was also really stressed out for reasons. And that increases the acid in your body, which that acid can erode your teeth. So yeah, I had a lot of dental work done, but then after that, I always took really good care of my teeth. And I remember, I had a dentist suggest to me to get this electric toothbrush. It's so good. It cleans so much better than a regular toothbrush. I don't want to get an electric toothbrush. Gotta just get tired of everybody trying to sell you another gadget. Like, I gotta get an electric toothbrush. You gotta get a air fryer. You gotta get this. You gotta get that. Like, shut up. When does it all end, I don't think it's that difficult to be alive. Like, I don't think we need that many machines just to live well. But anyway, that's my mini rant. And anyway, he suggested to me get this electronic toothbrush, and I didn't. And a couple of times later, after coming back to him for my cleaning, my exams, he said, wow, your teeth look really great. Did you get that electric toothbrush? I said, no. So, this was this dentist who's thinking, oh, my teeth look so great, I must be using it. And I'm not. And I will also say something that I didn't know is that this is becoming slightly more spoken about, but for people who have had dental troubles or can be paranoid about it, especially the U.S., because we don't just automatically get dental care. It's actually pretty atrocious here. The U.S. is not that great. But you can remineralize and heal like early cavities. So don't stress out too much. Just take really good care of your teeth to the extent that you can. If you have a sensory disorder, like if you're autistic, or you're just going through stuff, because sometimes when you have, or like if you have dysautonomia, I had that for a while too, and you can just kind of suddenly, you just like can't tolerate certain sensations. If you're depressed too, it can be really hard to get up the energy to brush your teeth and do things like that. You don't have to do it the traditional way, quote unquote traditional. You don't have to do it the normal way. Just do whatever you can. Basic stuff is wash your mouth out with water after every meal, because you don't want the food to sit in there and the bacteria creates acid that erodes your teeth. Second step up is take toothbrush or tooth powder and just put it on your finger or a washcloth or something like that and rub your teeth. I honestly, I've heard so many people when they are low energy or they have any kind of problem, again, sensory problems, depression, brushing your teeth gets really hard. And I really think it's because there is something fundamentally very violent. And I don't mean in a ew, mean way. I just mean that there's a lot going on. There's something very violent and abrasive about brushing your teeth. They're your face bones, and you're rubbing this brush on them, and it's really loud. The vibration is very strong. The sensation is very strong. It's very strong. It's a lot. It's so much. Especially with the toothpastes, the mint comes in, and it's just so intense. And they really push that. They want, an intense clean. And that can be a lot on our nervous system, on our very nerves, when you're feeling already oversensitive. So yeah, you don't have to do it that way if it feels like it's too much for you. If you find yourself shying away from the task of brushing your teeth, it may not be because you don't want to clean your mouth. It may be because your toothpaste, you don't actually like the flavor, or it's too intense, or the brush is too intense, so you can do it some other way. So yeah, shout out to all of those who struggle sometimes with self-care, mental health, sensory problems, and all of that. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm very sympathetic to that. As somebody who is autistic and who has gone through so many intense mental health things that I talked about a lot on my older channel, I still, discuss that kind of stuff, and I work in that space on my Instagram. And before I go today, I want to say specifically to the Black and LGBT followers that I may have here. Again, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do. That's for everybody. I am that witch, WHICH on Instagram. But every 2 weeks, I am a co-facilitator at a Black and LGBT peer support space for us to talk about our issues. So if you follow me on Instagram, you will get the notification and the invite for the next time we do a meeting, which will not be this weekend, but will be next weekend. We do it the second and fourth Saturday of the month. So yeah, I just wanted to shout that out because mental health is important, and mental health and self-care go together, and they can be a struggle. And self-care is a healthcare issue because when it's hard to care for yourself, sometimes that can end up with long-term problems. So mental health is a big deal, especially when it makes it hard for people to tend to their self-care. So this has been a bit of a ramble at the end. So it seems like, I'm just talking about, wow, crazy thing not to use a toothbrush, but it goes deeper than that. And you have options, and sorry, you have options, and I hope that you can all find something that works for you. Okay? Peace.